March 2nd, 2024. Nonsan Training Center, 28th Regiment, 2nd Battalion, 3rd Platoon. That day, I wasn't a person. I was recruit number 281, 20th class of the Republic of Korea Army. My head was shaved, and I had to empty my mind too. I couldn't check the time. The only thing keeping time was the sound of running drills. The lunchbox my mom packed. I finished it all right in front of the training center gate, and my phone was taken the moment I checked in. That's when it really hit me. I'm no longer a civilian.
Hey, what's your number?
A stranger spoke to me. Big eyes, a slightly protruding mouth. He looked like he was definitely from the countryside. 281.
Oh, I'm 280. Right next to you.
That was the beginning of whatever this thing with Choi Jin-hyuk was. At first, I just gave a lazy nod, and about 2 days later, we finally remembered each other's names. Jin-hyuk was quicker than I thought. For a recruit, he was unusually sharp and physically strong, too. During roll call, he moved at the instructor's glance. When cleaning trays, he lined them up perfectly against his knees. I was the opposite. I got confused in formation. I messed up the chants all the time. During rifle disassembly, I always dropped at least one screw, and during runs, I was always wheezing in the back.
Dude, you really aren't cut out for the army.
Probably means there were no soldiers in my family tree, but strangely, that one line made me burst out laughing. That might have been the exact moment we became friends. In the Army, a friend is someone you can't even sleep apart from. Same barracks, same squad, same bunk. We woke up at the same time every day, ate the same Bravo set meals, shouted the same chants, hung our military underwear on the same laundry line, and got yelled at by the same seniors. We both failed at pull-ups, got punished together, ran full speed to PX together, and shared a single choco pie split in half. Back then, that felt like everything in the world. Week 5. Solo night field march. My feet had blistered and I could barely stand. Walking, running, all of it felt impossible. Jin-hyuk, without a word, grabbed half of my pack. Hey, don't do useless stuff.
Stop trying to act cool. Just shut up.
For some reason, those words made my chest tighten. Same enlistment date isn't what makes someone your comrade. It's someone who endures, the same time, the same pain. Me with you. Last day of training, each platoon took a group photo. Jin-hyuk casually put his arm around my shoulder and threw up a peace sign. I stood stiffly and looked straight at the camera. In that photo, our smiles were awkward, but in our eyes, we looked ready to face any war. Together, graduation day at the 2nd Battalion. Right before we each got sent to our assigned units, for the first time, we called each other by name without numbers.
Choi Jin-hyuk.
Lee Seung-woo. Those names sounded light on the surface, but within them was the entire meaning of survival. The day we received our unit assignment papers, with half a resigned face, I unfolded mine. 13th Regiment, 2nd Battalion, 4th Company. Up to that point, it felt whatever, but then Jin-hyuk looked at my paper and said,
Hey, you're in the 13th too?
I couldn't believe my eyes. What company are you in?
3rd Company. Dude, we're in the same unit.
In the Army, even if you're in the same division, you barely see each other. Different companies mean different living quarters, different duties, and totally different seniors. Even if you're in the same building, it feels like a completely different world. Meal times were different. Roll call chants were different. Even PX days were different. But strangely, just knowing we were in the same unit put a kind of comfort deep in my chest. First week of adjusting to the new unit, I had to redo my gear organization 3 times. One of the seniors made everyone stand up and gave us push-ups because I didn't shut the fridge properly. I learned how to read the room at least 3 times a day. I got in touch with Jin-hyuk on Sunday in front of the battalion's shared phone booth. While waiting to call, we spotted each other.
Hey, what living quarters are you in?
Fourth company, third room.
I'm third company, second room.
Jin Hyuk already had one senior above him. I was pretty much the lowest rank. Same unit, sure, but we were living in totally different systems. First leave. We both went out on the same day.
Man, don't you miss PX ramen? It's not real unless it's a little burnt. That's Army ramen.
We sat in a ramen place in town and talked about the Army for 3 straight hours, complaining about seniors, gear inspections, random drills, roll calls. It was more vivid than any movie and more real than any drama. That's when I realized in the military, the biggest comfort is having someone you can complain with. Day before returning, we bought a choco pie each at PX and walked to each other's company.
Here, this is for you.
Hey, take this too. People looked at us weird, but that one choco pie was sincere. In the Army, what touches you most isn't words, it's actions. After returning, Jin Hyuk got assigned to the ammo depot, and I became a communications assistant. Our duties were different, but the time we spent thinking of each other was the same. Jin Hyuk said this once.
If we weren't in the same unit, we probably would have lost touch ages ago.
I replied, but we're in the same unit now, so we haven't lost touch. And that made us both laugh. The Army is the worst place to make friends, but the best place to keep them. Always watching your back, keeping your head down around seniors, cutting sleep to clean, and even through all that, you instinctively know who's on your side. That's who Jin Hyuk was. The guy who got me, without a word. The guy whose stories never got old, even when he repeated them. We were in the same unit, but living in different platoons. Still, every day, we lived each other's day in our hearts. Winter night duty. Winter nights in the military are exceptionally quiet. Even the wind, even footsteps, sound like they're holding their breath. That night, by chance, Jin Hyuk and I were assigned to the same guard shift. Different platoons, but a joint post. So we ended up together that night. The post was cold and cramped. Static popped from the radio every so often. We took turns looking outside and saying nothing.
Hey, it's really slippery tonight. Don't go running around.
I gave a short reply. Only an idiot would run. That was all we said that night. In the military, you don't say anything unnecessary, especially at night. Accidents happen, without a sound. Jin Hyuk was moving behind the post and slipped on a frozen slope. Thud. A dull sound. I turned instinctively. He was already trying to get up, then slumped back down. I walked over without a word. Hey.
Ah.
That was it. Can you get up?
Yeah, just a sec.
I grabbed his arm. Jin Hyuk clenched his teeth and slowly stood up, his face twisted. As he put weight on his leg,
I'm fine.
his face said otherwise, but I didn't ask again. In the military, if you say, I'm fine, that's the end of it. The radio jostled at my waist. We both knew we should report it, but neither of us reached for it. Hey, told you not to run.
I didn't. The ground just decided it hated me.
So it's the ground's fault.
Exactly.
And just like that, we went back to our posts, like nothing happened. For the rest of the shift, Jin Hyuk barely moved. I kept looking outside, more often than usual, even the direction he was supposed to cover. Maybe he noticed because he casually said,
Hey, you're walking around too much.
that's because you're just standing there.
I'm not dying or anything. So don't act all dramatic.
I knew by his tone he meant thank you, so I didn't say anything back. After the shift, we returned to the barracks. Jin Hyuk dragged his foot a bit. Not enough to notice, just barely. Hey, want some ramen?
Too lazy to go to the PX.
I've got some. We silently opened our cup noodles, poured in the hot water, rested the chopsticks on top. For some reason, that sound felt loud.
Earlier? Thanks.
I pressed the lid down with my chopsticks. For what?
Just,
He didn't say more, and I didn't ask. In the military, just means every emotion there is. While eating ramen, I said, be careful next time.
you too.
That was the end. No apologies, no promises, no dramatic vows. But we'd already seen each other's limits. There was no need to explain it in words. Next morning, Jin Hyuk woke up as usual. But during the run, he slipped to the very back. No one asked why. I just quietly double-checked his gear. After that night, we didn't say anything special, but we always knew where the other was. Friendship in the military doesn't form after a clash. It's born in moments, when you say nothing, and still look the same way. That accident that night wasn't serious, but after it, we became the kind of friends who didn't need to confirm things out loud. Discharge day. It had already been a year and 6 months. The day I'd been waiting for had come. That rusty locker in the corner of the barracks. The chance we shouted under the division flag. All of it felt like a thing of the past now. Each day that I used to think was suffocating. Now that it was ending, I didn't feel relieved. I just felt oddly empty. It was a busy morning. I got my discharge papers from the admin office and went around saying goodbye to the guys in my platoon. Some were sincere, some were just going through the motions. I smiled and accepted it all. Jin Hyuk had been discharged 2 days before me, so he wasn't here today. But that empty space felt unusually big. While packing up my gear for the last time in the barracks, I thought about Jin Hyuk. That guy used to eat the PX's famous tuna rice bowl for 3 days straight and saying, if this would cost 1,001 outside, I must be rich. When the platoon leader nagged us, he'd say, yes, understood, then curse silently with just his lips. He adjusted to military life better than anyone, but sometimes he'd secretly spend time alone. Jin Hyuk and I, we looked different, thought differently, but we spent the same time, suffered the same pain, and slept on the same cold floor, outside the barracks, saying a final goodbye to the senior soldiers. They said,
Hit me up after discharge. I'll buy you a meal. Live well out there, too.
to all of them, I bowed deeply and said, thank you, stay healthy, but I knew that I'd probably never see most of them again. That's just how the military is. Outside the building, in front of the battalion gate, Jin Hyuk was there, hands in his pockets, staring at the ground. Even from afar, I knew it was him. I walked over slowly. Hey, what are you doing here?
Just passing by. Had something nearby.
A blatant lie, but I let it slide. What are the chances you're just passing by here?
Yeah, right?
That was our way of talking. We walked out of the base and found a ramen place near the bus terminal. Jin Hyuk didn't even look at the menu.
Just 2 kimchi ramens.
I nodded. Been a while since we had anything other than cup noodles.
Honestly, if it weren't for you, military life would have sucked.
I laughed and said, because of you, mine was a little more tiring.
Then it all evens out.
In that short exchange, there was emotion, there were memories, and there was goodbye. Outside the bus terminal, we were headed in different directions. I was going to Seoul. Jin Hyuk was headed to Daejeon. We bought our tickets and stood together for a few seconds by the curb.
Let's stay in touch.
Yeah, let's grab a meal sometime.
For sure. Take care.
You too. That was it. No waving, no hugs, of course. We just naturally walked toward our separate buses. I sat by the window and quietly looked out. More than the joy of discharge, what stuck in my mind was Jin Hyuk's silhouette. That's when I realized. Friendship isn't about big promises or talking every day. It's just a feeling that lingers from the time you shared together. But at the same time, I felt it faintly. That once that time ends, the weight of it starts to fade too. That day we said, let's keep in touch. And we meant it, but we also knew there was a good chance it wouldn't happen. After discharge, the very first thing I did was make a group chat. 28th Regiment, 2nd Battalion, 3rd Platoon group chat. The faces I used to crawl through the mud with, get yelled at with, were now smiling in suits as their profile pics.
Yo, is this for real? Why do you all look so good now?
Back then, we truly believed. We'd never forget those days. At first, it was loud and lively. Drunken selfies at 2 a.m., complaints about work, blind date stories, and even, man, I miss PX cup noodles. Jin Hyuk chimed in now and then, too.
Got smoked by my manager today. Still better than our drill sergeant.
True that?
I believed that was what friendship was. But those conversations slowly started to fade. The first one to go quiet was Jin Hyuk. At first, he said he was just busy. And then eventually, he didn't even read the messages. I messaged him separately a few times. How are you doing? Settling into the job, okay? His replies came a day or two later, and they were short.
Yeah. Getting by. Still alive?
That was the last reply. Now the group chat only had birthday messages.
Happy birthday.
Oh, happy B-Day.
Don't forget to celebrate.
Even that, people stopped reacting to. Dots started appearing. The group chat turned into an obligation someone would suggest. Let's meet up this summer. No one would respond or just say, yeah, sounds good. And that was it. Jin Hyuk and I used to talk more than 10 times a day. After duty, we'd eat ramen together, sit on the outdoor bench behind the barracks, and stare at the stars. But now, just saying a single word felt awkward. Was it me who changed, or him? Or maybe once the military was gone. So was our friendship, scattered like air. One day, I called Jin Hyuk.
This number is unavailable. Please leave a message.
I put my phone down and just sat there, blank. That day, I suddenly remembered our boot camp group photo. Jin Hyuk had his arm around my shoulder, smiling a head taller than me. I was stiff, eyes straight ahead. In that photo, we looked like we'd last forever. But those days now only lived in a photo. Time goes on, my dog tags are in a drawer. My combat boots at the very bottom of the shoe rack. I don't even know where my discharge papers are. My daily life now is just meetings over time, drinks after work, credit card bills, piling up, and yet strangely, sometimes, I remember Jin Hyuk's face. Slipping on that snowy night, in front of the guard post, that expression, that voice that I'm fine, it keeps coming back to me. Maybe friendship is something you can't see. When you're in it, only after you're apart, when you no longer see each other, do you finally realize how deep it really was. Jin Hyuk. Where is he now? Still working that job? Cooking ramen alone in his apartment? When he buys a choco pie, does he still think about PX days? I remembered his last words. Let's keep in touch. Let's grab a meal. They sounded simple, but I think I finally understand how many things he wanted to say, but couldn't at the time. A few days later, in the middle of the same old routine, a message popped up in the group chat. Just one short line, so short, it hit even harder. At first, I thought it was a joke, some random nonsense in the middle of the night. But 10 minutes later, someone uploaded a photo of funeral flowers. In the framed picture, it was him, the guy we all knew just 3 or 4 years ago. We were in the same barracks. Got punished for messing up the chant at roll call. Shouted, "Orange milk's back at PX," and ran around. That same junior was gone. A car accident, they said. No one could say anything in the group chat. We all just stared blankly at the reality. That now had late, in front of his name. The funeral hall was at a hospital on the outskirts of Seoul. 7 p.m., at the end of a dim hallway, in front of a quiet room, our old army crew started to show up one by one, black suits, awkward faces, some I hadn't seen in years. Among them was Jin Hyuk. He had arrived before me and was sitting on a bench outside the room. His face looked thinner, and tired shadows clung under his eyes. I walked over and sat next to him. He gave a slight nod. "How have you been?"
Still breathing, I guess.
That line didn't feel strange. That's how we met again. After paying our respects, we quietly walked to a convenience store and grabbed some beer. The night breeze swept the street. There was a lot to say, but the words didn't come easily. Opening his can, Jin Hyuk spoke.
Remember him? Back in boot camp? He tripped during a run and got chewed out by the instructor.
Of course. That evening, he asked me, "Do I get to go home today?"
If that were an option, I would have gone too.
Same. The beer went down faster than expected. But our conversation took its time. We talked about life, work, people, and the things we missed along the way. Hey, sorry I didn't reach out all this time.
Me too, honestly. I didn't know what to say.
For some reason, that really got to me. Jin Hyuk silently reached into his pocket and pulled something out. Dog tags. That heavy piece of metal.
Still have this. You?
I nodded quietly. It's in a drawer. Two grown men. Talking about dog tags might have looked silly to someone else. But in that moment, we were back. In our army days.
Looking back now, those days were strangely comfortable.
I nodded. Yeah, it was tough, but somehow it felt safe. In that conversation were all the nights we lived through. Time soaked in sweat instead of tears, and a friendship shared in silence.
Let's really get that meal. This time. For real.
I said, yeah, this time, for real. And just like that, our reunion at a funeral became the second beginning of our friendship. I got home after 11 p.m. Maybe it was the air from the funeral hall, but the house felt strangely unfamiliar, eerily quiet. I took off my suit, made a cup of coffee, and sat still in the dark room. I don't know. Someone was gone, but it didn't feel real. Still, something inside me felt unusually heavy. I kept thinking about Jin Hyuk's face. For the first time in a while, I opened my drawer. Inside was a thin plastic pouch, faded dog tags, a copy of my discharge papers, and two medals from the army. It felt like I was facing a version of myself I had long forgotten. I took out the dog tags and held them in my hand. They didn't even feel cold. Inside that metal was sweat, dust, curses, tears, and all the time. We called comradeship. Back then, this piece of steel was everything. Your identity, your proof of existence. Without thinking, I picked up my phone, opened Kakao Talk, Choi Jin Hyuk. His name was still there, our last messages. Did you get home okay? Yeah, thanks, you too. And that's where it ended. I hesitated a bit, then sent him a message, saw my dog tags, brought back everything. Less than 10 seconds later, a reply came.
Same here. I came home and took them out too.
Reading that, I knew neither of us had ever truly forgotten those days, and that this friendship wasn't over. Jin Hyuk and I had lived through the same time, in different ways, but we kept the same memories, tucked away in the deepest part of our hearts. I wrote him again. This weekend, you free? Found a quiet pojang matcha.
I'll come. Right after work on Friday.
That night, I didn't close the drawer. I left the dog tags on my desk. That piece of steel was no longer just a memory. It was a lifeline to someone, a part of me I shouldn't ever let go of. Friendship isn't about how often you talk. It's about remembering. The same time, and in the moment, you have the courage to face those feelings. The connection comes alive again. Friday, 8 p.m., a pojang matcha in Jongno. Inside the white tent, through the fogged-up vinyl window, neon signs flickered. A light drizzle was falling. On the streets, people off work, laughter soaked in alcohol. I was already sitting down. One bottle of soju, one bowl of ramen on the table. The same combo we used to share in the army was laid out again. Jin Hyuk showed up right on time. Still in his office clothes, shirt and tie loosely undone. Hey.
You're here.
He sat down without a word, a moment of silence. But it wasn't awkward. I poured a shot of soju and said, "So who's Gonna cook the ramen without saying anything tonight?
You do it. I still suck at guessing the water.
The steam rose up, and the rich broth smell filled the air. All that time apart slowly melted away. Between the clinking of spoons, how's life these days?
Same old. Work. People. Relationships. Nothing I can really hold on to.
Still, I thought you'd hold up just fine.
It's 'cause you said that. I honestly felt like I couldn't.
We both laughed silently. In that laughter, there was a mix of tears, a bit of regret, and just old laughter. When the soju was half gone, Jin Hyuk spoke.
I didn't say it back then. But if you hadn't pulled me up at the post, things might have gone real bad that night.
I paused with my chopsticks. And what did I get from that?
A choco pie.
That's good enough.
That's all it takes?
The Army's all about low costs. The rain started falling harder. The sound of drops hitting the tent. The distant hiss of a bus brake. Jin Hyuk said quietly.
At our age now, we're supposed to be starting something, right? But sometimes, I just wish time would stop.
I thought for a while and then said back in the Army, time went so slow. It drove me crazy. Now it flies so fast, it's driving me crazy again. At those words, Jin Hyuk raised his glass.
Then let's go back. Eat choco pies at the PX again. No overtime. No people. No credit card bills.
I took the glass from him and said, but if we go back, you'll just slip on that icy slope again.
And you'll be the one, running with my rucksack again.
We both burst out laughing, loudly and out loud, without caring who heard. That night, Jin Hyuk and I didn't make any promises. No, let's meet again. No, stay in touch. But we knew. We were connected again. Right now, we're living in different timelines. But one message just, hey, and we'd be back. At the same spot, we left the Pojangmacha and walked in the rain with no umbrella. The downpour had eased for a bit. A damp breeze brushed across our faces. Jin Hyuk said,
But really, let's grab that meal sometime, often.
I nodded.